the adults in here want to hear something funny? Right before recording this, I just got off the phone with my bank. My financial advisor has informed me he wants a fee of 1.35%. I can't even say it with a straight face, man. I'm going to a meeting on Monday with him and his team. It should be fun. Oh, if I got some words for them. It should be a criminal offense, by the way, to even suggest something as dead as that. But speaking of dead, how dead is Cyrene and the rest of the Chrysos Heirs? Not that dead, evidently, you know. I've seen a lot of mixed reactions to the ending of the quest. No one reaction is more justified than another. We're all equally correct. Yep. Except for the ones that are wrong. As hilarious as these Skinwalker Cyrene jokes have been, it's just wrong, bro. There aren't two Cyrenes, there's only one. There's simply two versions of... might as well just get started. Yes, Cyrene and the Chrysos Heirs are undoubtedly coming back, but, you know, we gotta handle these two cases very, very differently, because while the Chrysos Heirs are just straight up coming back, it's as easy as that, Cyrene's case is different. Very, very different. The Chrysos Heirs are all chilling in the book, having a good time, vibing, that's it, they got a good ending. Cyrene got a tragic ending that's mired in fucking time travel and the bootstrap paradox, which they just did in Genshin with Didnt. Evidently, Hoyo had a fucking movie night a couple months ago and, like, watched Predestination or some shit. The fuck going on here? But before we explain why Cyrene's story is a tragic paradox, we should explain what exactly it is she did from the beginning in simple words, because, you know, I'm a dumb person. I can't with these flower metaphors, man. I trust I can explain her story without needing a fucking 7,000-word essay about the relationship between a broken flower and love. One day, Lygus found a scepter with a seed of memory in it. The seed was the scepter's heart, an original extrapolation target. Lygus didn't like this, however, so he blew up the inside of the scepter using a stellaron to refashion the scepter for the destruction. To do this, Lygus simulated life over 30 million cycles. The life started simple and eventually grew to become complex organisms like humans. A human named Philia093, or Cyrene, simply fucking spawned in one day in ID Silesii. This Cyrene would go on a flame chase journey attempting to bring about the Era Nova with the Chrysos Heirs of that time. Eventually, they'd all die except for two, Philia093 and Nikos496. They'd come to learn from Lygus the Era Nova is a lie, so they'd hatch a plan to indefinitely halt the Era Nova until a deliverer came from beyond the stars that could save them. To do this, they'd place their trust in the Aeon Fuli who gazed at Cyrene many years ago. While phainon was attempting to brute force his way through the next 30 million cycles of eternal recurrence, Cyrene was hid away in the path space, but before each cycle reset, Cyrene would head to the tomb of the Nameless Titan and share the story of what happened in that cycle with the Scepter's heart, the Demiurge. Placing her trust in the gaze she received from Fuli, she believed that if she nurtured the Demiurge with love, it would be the key to stopping Irontomb in the future. Over the millions of stories told, the Demiurge would grow from a seed to a bud to a flower, molding itself after Cyrene as it loved Cyrene and her stories and wanted to be exactly like her. At some point, Fuli would light up the mirror inside the Garden of Recollection, which would be noticed by Black Swan, who then convinced the Astral Express to head to Amphoreus. With the Deliverer now on their way to the fucking Promised Land, Amphoreus' face was turning. Cyrene believed she'd nurtured the Demiurge well enough to have her become Cyrene and defeat Irontomb, so unto the Demiurge, she gave her her book, her name, as well as her pen name, which resulted in Cyrene turning into a strand of memory and dissipating completely. The Demiurge would then break free from its cage as Mem, but at the cost of losing her memories, and immediately be attracted to the Trailblazer due to the Stellaron inside their body. We then go on a journey with Mem, completing the Flame Chase journey and learning the truth behind the Era Nova. We then get sent back in time to complete another Eternal Recurrence by Mem, who at this point has regained some of her memories and knows she's Cyrene. Naturally then, in the next cycle, we'd now be joined by Mini Cyrene in the past, because we needed to talk to the Imperator Saridra. Lygus would find out what's going on and imprison the Trailblazer in the Exomyth for thousands of years, leaving Cyrene and the Chrysos Heirs to trap Lygus and hatch a plan for the Deliverer's return. But this came at the cost of all their lives. We defeat Lygus with the help of the Geniuses, complete the Era Nova, and in the next cycle, we're now joined by the fucking Giganotosaurus Cyrene, who at this point has regained all of her memories. We then go fight Irontomb, get put down like dirty dogs, and in the midst of a dying universe, Cyrene gets gazed at by Fuli, which allows her to create an eternal page, that being this garden where, I guess, the craziest feat in the game happens. She stored the memories and consciousnesses of everyone and everything in the cosmos in the wake of Irontomb sending it to the Shadow Realm, Folks, that's an incalculable amount of memories. This is an eon-level feat. The Trailblazer would enter this garden, absorb the memories, and share them with Cyrene. We'd then embark on a journey of remembrance with the memories and return to the fight against Irontomb and win. All the Chrysos Heirs would then be placed in As I've Written because, well, the scepter's gone so it can't sustain their forms anymore, while Cyrene would meet with Herta in the Path space and learn some troubling news. Fuli does not yet exist. This naturally creates problems for Amphoreus, which heavily relied on Fuli to attain its current state of bliss. But because Fuli doesn't exist yet, that means they haven't gazed at anyone yet, which means Amphoreus' causality, their cycle, has gaps that anyone could slip into and act on. Most worryingly, the destruction could slip into these gaps and once again allow for the rise of Irontomb. So, Cyrene, being a pure child of Anosrava, meaning she's a candidate to become Fuli at the end of time, as well as being someone who's gone further down the path of remembrance than anyone else, chooses to sacrifice herself and act as a fill-in for Fuli in Amphoreus' history. She'd then go back in time, removing the blanks in Amphoreus' cycle, by doing stuff like gazing at the Trailblazer, which is what Fuli did, lighting up the mirror in the garden that caught Black Swan's attention, which is what Fuli did. Gazing at herself, which is what Fuli did. Placing the hero in Phainon's heart. If you go back and listen to the recap, anytime I say Fuli, replace it with Cyrene, because now she's Amphoreus' Fuli. Cyrene would then choose to use the ceremonial blade as the remembrance's anchor to tie everything together and close off Amphoreus' causality. This led to her memory slipping, so she'd fall asleep under the great tree, and when she awoke, she came out smaller, because now it's her turn to be Philia 093, because when Cyrene was acting as Fuli in this scene, she was going back in time until she wound up in Idis Elysiae before everything happened. Now it's her turn to be Philia 093, complete the flame chase journey, raise the demiurge. With her memory slipping even further, she recalls her real name of Alicia, and then heads to sleep once more to get that vision of Fuli that kick-started everything. Well, it's gonna be her gazing at herself, because Cyrene is now trapped in a never-ending cycle of Amphoreus with no clear start point. The past exists because of the future, hence the bootstrap paradox. There's only ever been one Cyrene. There aren't two different Cyrenes. There is no skinwalker. It's just a loop. All that exists are merely Cyrenes in different points of time. Folks, that's just time travel. If you or I go back in time and interact with our past selves, that's not a different person, that's just you at a different point in time. Now, it may seem that there's two different Cyrenes because we, as the Trailblazer, never met the Cyrene that raised our Cyrene, our demiurge. We only met that Cyrene for the first time after the fight against Irontomb. So yes, Cyrene's ending is a tragic one, but legally speaking anyway, she's sleeping, not dead, so there's always a chance she comes back, but until then, she's trapped in a never-ending, infinitely looping cycle. She'll face an endless amount of both love and pain until someone can pull her out of this loop. Now, as for the Chrysos Heirs, they're all just Bing chilling, and as I've written, they're in a book world of Amphoreus, free of the Black Tide, having the time of their lives, vibing and shit, waiting to be reborn in the real world as confirmed by Herta. Now, when they'll be reborn is anyone's guess. Could be tomorrow, could be in 1,000 years, but either way, they'll come, and we're hastening their return. Yep, it's that simple for them, man. Cyrene martyred herself to an endless amount of painful cycles so the others, her friends, could live on. They got a happy ending, while Cyrene got a tragic one. Meanwhile, I can't even get the fucking cashier at 7-Eleven to let me buy a $1.10 pack of Skittles with $1, that cheap fuck.